What's going on with y'all, man? We back here with it. Man, do we need this live stream better than ever, man. We needed this badly. As you know, the last time we were live, things were a little different. Starting off with week one, and now we're past week one. Now we're facing on the Commanders, both looking at an 0-1 record, man. And I had to go out and get my guy Rio Robinson on the cut. Washington content creator, one of the top creators on that platform. Love to see it. And let's go ahead and welcome my guy to the stage, man. What's going on, my guy?
What's going on, man? Let's get it, baby. Week 2. Let's go.
Week two in the cut, man.
Mm-hmm.
This team for both of us right now, a lot of expectations, certain expectations set, some higher than others. But right now, obviously, we're both in the whole 0-1. And I think both of us looking at it, kind of winnable games on each side. How you feeling about that?
For sure, but I feel like our 0-1s, all 0-1s are not created equal. We actually got some good things going, and our game was pretty competitive for a good portion of it, and we're at completely different areas as far as the quarterback position and development of the franchise. Our coaching staff just got here. Your coaching staff with a bad season, it could be on its way out the door, so I'm excited to see how this one plays out.
Listen, we got – like you hit it right in the nail right on the head, man. Two different feelings leaving week one. I know we're going to touch on that, especially talking about the quarterback position. But obviously, with you being a Commanders fan and you talking about the Commanders often, go ahead and give me a little overview of how you guys felt going into week one after this offseason, after drafting your franchise quarterback. Let me know what your state of the team is and what your expectations were heading into the season.
I know as fans, we are so starving, not only to have a quarterback, but to be a winning franchise again. We had the worst owner in pro sports for 25 years, and everything he did reigning over this organization, it set us back for years and years and years. And we were 4-13 last year, and this roster was every bit 4-13, but we hired Adam Peters as the GM, Dan Quinn, and a whole new coaching staff as the coach. We turned this roster. There's 24 new players on this roster. We have 13 out of our 22 starters are new acquisitions, including a rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels, who we took second overall. So while there are some fans that delusionally expect us to just jump right into contention, I know that this is an evaluation type year. This is a wait and see year. We're expected to have over $100 million in cap next year. We need to see what we have. Who is going to be held onto from Ron Rivera's Washington, where he missed on 22 of 33 draft picks, and we did nothing really significant. We didn't really show any growth over Ron's 4 years. The arrow went down instead of up. So I think we're looking at around a 7 or 8 win season, but who's to say if we start gelling and we start to build some rapport and chemistry with all the new pieces we added this year, and if Jaden Daniels really takes off, that we could actually do more than that. But that would just be the cherry on top. Realistically speaking, we're just trying to see what we have. But at the same time, we do want to compete. We're not trying to get blown off the field like we were last year every Sunday. We're actually trying to compete. But I'm excited. We're all excited. We're excited for Jaden Daniels. We have 4 rookie starters. Luke McCaffrey at receiver, Mikey Sanders still in the slot corner spot, and our left tackle, Brandon Coleman, he's going to get his first NFL start this weekend against Kayvon Thibodeau, who wreaks havoc on our offense every season. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait because I hate y'all, man. For some reason, we can't get past y'all. Don't matter how good or bad either team is. Daniel Jones beats us. We got to stop that this Sunday.
Listen, I mean, even thinking about where we were 2 years ago, heading into a new regime. Now you guys have a franchise quarterback that it is his rookie season. 2 years ago with this new regime, it felt like a fresh start with old pieces, right? We had Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones. And I think one of the biggest things was we thought it was going to be a rebuild, and we went into a playoff game, won it. And granted, that year in itself planted a lot of delusional Giants fans, man. And I'm sure you hear about it all the time, even to this day, talking about Daniel Jones. Now, I'm going to be honest. I told my other guys this. I was sold on Daniel Jones after that year. I'm going to be honest. I was talking my talk on my channel because he went into an away stadium, won a playoff game, and got a bag, and the Giants put themselves in a handcuff position where are you going to walk away from a quarterback that just won your first playoff game in 5 years? Now, 2 years after that, I mean, here we are after week one, we're talking
handcuffed
about the guy, I think that's the best way to describe it. after week 1, we lose a game that we thought was winnable, and here we are talking about benching him already. I think it's crazy to see. And I mean, even speaking on Jaden Daniels, I mean, it was shown. I don't know if you've seen the Hard Knocks when it came to the Giants in the front office, but they were looking at Jaden Daniels and talking about trading up for him. I knew there was no way you guys are trading any type of pick, let alone the Patriots after you guys as well. Tommy DeVito comes in, beats you guys twice, which that's something that we've always somehow been doing.
We thank him for that.
Commanders.
We thank him for that. Thank you, Tommy Cutlass, because you got us right into the second over. Y'all played yourself right out of a franchise quarterback last year, and we love to see it.
Listen, like this happens consistently for us. Even when you think about going back to the Chase Young Bowl against you guys, we're trying to battle to see who's going to get Chase Young. We win a game where Daniel Jones actually threw 6 touchdowns, and we ended up with Andrew Thomas. And I mean, granted, I'm happy we walked away with that, but it just so happens the Commanders roll around and end up picking. Y'all just hit on picks, and I think the Giants can kind of relate on not hitting on picks because I mean you can look at guys 2 years ago that aren't even starting for us right now. So even thinking about it, man, like heading into this matchup, you guys are 0-1 with optimism. We're 0-1 with, man, what can we grasp onto? Because it can get ugly real quick. Once again, man, before we continue to dive into here, I know we got a couple people in here. Make sure you say what's up in the chat. If you got any questions, any comments, make sure you post it up in the chat. We'll be posting it up. Shout out to my guy TP. Saying the Commanders are the only team not qualified to join the Daniel Jones.
Now we slandering him too. He stinks. He beats us all the time, but he stinks. Who better than us to end the reign of Daniel Jones as y'all starter? It would be poetic justice if he has an awful game, we beat y'all, and it's time to pull that plug.
The crazy thing is, I said it the first thing after that Vikings game. Daniel Jones can really go out and ball out against you guys this upcoming Sunday. And I know that the problems are still there. The problem was never his ability. He's just inconsistent. And against certain defenses, certain people know how to cue things up that our quarterback gets rattled and he can't get things going, man. And unfortunately, the Commanders haven't been that. For you guys, unfortunately, they haven't been that. And heading into Sunday, man, it's a different change of tides. So first thing I want to touch on, man, after week 1, your team has a performance. Not only is it Jaden Daniels' start, and he actually had a decent start compared to other rookie quarterbacks and quarterbacks in general. Passing yards and everything was down across the league. How do you feel leaving that game with your starting quarterback, as well as the defense? I mean, the defense gave up 37 points. And it's crazy to say Baker Mayfield once upon a time was on his last life, and now he found new life in Tampa, and he's looking good. So how do you feel leaving that game?
Yeah, Baker definitely found himself a forever home in Tampa Bay, and we made him look like the number 1 overall pick that he was back in the day. What was that, 2018? We made him look like that guy again. We had pressure consistently throughout the day, but he was Patrick Mahomes maneuvering around it. We should have had him for 6 sacks. We only got him 1 time, and he was dotting up our defense on all levels, the backers, the corners, and the safeties. By the time we got to the fourth quarter, our defense was gassed. A lot of beating ourselves. My main takeaway was, let's quit being the old Washington. Washington has a habit of getting in its own way far too much. First drive of the game, get a 3-and-out on defense, but we get a penalty, extend the drive, they get 3 points there. We get our first drive on offense. Jaden Daniels throws a screen to freaking Narnia. He throws it like out of the stadium. We lose 20 yards on the first play. It's like we're already behind the sticks. So first drive is pretty much a wash. So on both sides, self-inflicted wounds ended them. And then on the second drive of the game, Benjamin St. Juste is set up for a pick 6 over Baker Mayfield. He drops it. They go right down the field. They go get another field goal because they dropped the touchdown on the second drive, 6-0. And it was just like constant mistakes. But Jaden was one of our few positives from our first game because they were sending 5 to 6 man rushes on every drive, every snap of the game, and our offense only moved because of him. A lot of it was with his legs, but when you have God-given ability like Jaden Daniels, sometimes when the offense isn't able to get it going, he got to hop on his high horse and start scooting down that field. 88 rushing yard, 2 rushing touchdown. He was 17-24. There are about 3 throws for sure I know he would like to have back. To start the second half, first play of the second half, Cliff Kingsbury dialed it up. Deep ball to Terry McLaurin. It would have been a home run, 70-yard touchdown. Jaden threw it about 2 yards outside of his hands. just in front of him. It was lined up, but it was 2 yards ahead of him. I know he wants it back. He missed Terry. He missed Terry on a deep dig where he ran it rather than throwing it. He missed Eckler one time and he missed Dion. Rookie stuff. The game has to slow down for him. His first NFL game, he's playing an aggressive Todd Bowles defense, and this is a playoff football team. I think me and a lot of our fans, we overlook the fact that the 9-8 Tampa Bay Buccaneers won a playoff game and went toe-to-toe, mano-a-mano with the Detroit Lions in the divisional round and lost a one-possession game, and they were about 3 to 5 plays away from being in the NFC Championship last year. And it looked like it on Sunday. We look like a team that's trying to gel and form chemistry, and they look like a team that's ready to go and returning a significant amount of their starters.
100%. And I think looking at it from our side, right, like, obviously, I'm a Giants fan. We're not trying to talk about the Commanders, but I will say that Jane Daniels, he didn't turn the ball over. You know what I'm saying?
I know. All that pressure.
Listen, we see it with a lot of guys. They kind of crack under pressure. You look at other guys like Bo Nix around the league. He had some ugly interceptions. You didn't have bad plays like that when it came to Jaden Daniels. I will say, throwing the ball is kind of where you want to see him progress. But like you said, the game will slow down and he'll make those strides. Heading into this matchup and thinking about what I saw in week 1, Jaden Daniels' legs. I mean, his way to like make plays and really, when things break down, able to scrummage up some yards, get a first down. Those are like killing plays when you're on a defense, especially considering you would assume that, guys were locked up on the back end and he makes a play and ends up getting a first down anyways. Those are the type of things that you want to see in a quarterback. And like I said, man, I mean, the Giants were even interested in Jaden Daniels for a reason. So I won't come out here and say Jaden Daniels is a bum or anything.
Your GM son wanted him. Brian Daboll wanted him. Y'all want everybody but the owner signed off on that trade up to get Jaden, but it was never going to happen.
Listen, as much as I can question where our franchise is headed in terms of, picking, I mean, I liked his teammate coming out of it with Malik Neighbors, and I walk away with Malik Neighbors any day. The problem is getting him a QB. Talking about it, heading into this matchup for us, I mean, the offensive side of the ball is really where we need to make our strides. I don't think the Vikings have the most talented defense in the world, and that's kind of what I was hoping for heading into this matchup. And we just got outcoached, we got outclassed, and they were making Daniel Jones, pump fake and all. The defensive line wasn't really getting after it. Our offensive line is much more improved, kind of making strides that we wanted to see heading into it. But thinking about where Daniel Jones is, I mean, he's making certain mistakes that, you kind of expect Daniels to make. That's kind of what you expect. And Daniel Jones is making this in year 6. Now, it's not all of his fault, but I can't keep giving him the long leash. It's year 6. We're heading into year 6. And that's why heading to this matchup. And fortunately, I do think he will play better in this game. Because once again, if he doesn't, things can get real loud. I think he'll be playing a little bit better. And looking at your defense, I mean, I don't expect Daniel Jones to look like Baker Mayfield. And once upon a time, that would have been a crazy statement to make. But all in all, like, I just expect, him to get the ball out to his receivers. Malik Neighbors has to be included somehow, some way. And I think for us, speaking on what John said, appreciate you for putting up a chat. Whose DB room seems more in the water? Listen, I wanted to see your second-year corner out there. And I feel like now it's less of an advantage that he's not on the field.
Definitely.
So talking about where Daniel Jones needs to make up for it, I mean, when you look at the DB room, St. Juste, I feel like has a couple good plays here and there, but Emmanuel Forbes has been susceptible overall. I was looking to see, Neighbors potentially have that matchup. Not saying that you guys would have had him exclusively on Neighbors, but potentially trying to exploit any type of thing you can see. Because for us, the DBs sometimes get picked on. Sometimes there's other plays that, other QBs really put pressure on them. So heading into it, man, what do you think about your DB room, especially losing that second-year corner that you had high hopes for?
I promise you we're not losing much in Emmanuel Forbes. I'm being totally honest when I say that may be addition by subtraction. Now that Michael Davis and Noah Igbenogany are going to be taking on that outside role opposite Benjamin St. Juste. St. Juste is a very weird corner where he's always running stride for stride with receivers. He's always in the right place, but he never makes the play. Like, he's always there. The ball is always right outside of his outstretched fingers, and he's grabby as hell, but he's the only solid-ish cornerback on the outside that we have on this roster. Forbes is going to miss some time. I'm pretty sure nobody's batting an eye over it. I think the team may have encouraged him to take a reset. Go ahead and get surgery. Take your time. Come back when you need to. We'll be right here. We'll be right here, Emmanuel. You take as long as you need to. Get your head right. Get your mental right. get your confidence and your morale back, come back a changed man with a splint on your finger. But our DBs, we should have had Christian Gonzalez here, man. It should be Christian Gonzalez opposite of Benjamin St. Juste, and we'd be having a different conversation. Maybe even your boy Tay Banks, who's been talking real crazy about the Commanders and about Terry McLaurin, so I cannot wait to see that matchup. But our cornerback room, our safeties played all right last week. We still have communication gaps, but it's to be expected when you got all these new starters playing together for the first time. But in the cornerback room, we hang our hat right now on rookie slot corner Mikey Sanders-Steele that we drafted in the second round. He had a rough outing, but when your first assignment in the NFL is versus Chris Godwin, it could be a little bit of a problem. I think he's punching more in his weight class this week versus Wan'Dale Robinson. But that's about all I got for our DB room right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was a big fan of Sanders-Steele coming out of Michigan as well. I definitely want to see him in our defense. And I said it when you guys picked him, man. I hate to see them go to NFC East, teams, man, because now I got to face him twice a year after I was already high on him. I even dropped the preview video on him, man. But looking at it for us as well, I mean, you mentioned it, Tay Banks. Now, I don't have the highest confidence in Tay Banks, especially considering he's going up against wide receiver ones this year. He had a solid rookie season, but you've seen moments where, he's a rookie and he needs to get a little bit better. I think when you compare it to like guys like Christian Gonzalez in the same class, I mean, Christian Gonzalez has been locking things up over there for New England.
Comparing the small stuff.
Yeah, small sample size, but Christian Gonzalez has it there. Emmanuel Forbes, I mean, we can talk about it all day, but even thinking about what Deonte Banks did against you guys last year, I mean, he baited Sam Howell into a pick last year, and I think that's one of his more like flashy plays that's happened so far. Now moving into a new defensive system with Shane Bowen, you're going to see him in zone a little bit more, not as much as a man press corner, considering what Wade Martindale had us doing last year. But I think Deonte Banks should be able to make certain plays as well. It's just going up against Terry McLaurin. McLaurin, he's a beast, man. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's a top 5 receiver in the league, but, we've faced him a good amount of times, and he always gets his, though. He always gets his. And looking at, who you guys have at the receiver position, I mean, he's it. I mean, other than having a McCaffrey out there, and it's not Christian, it's the other one. Luke McCaffrey could potentially make some plays, but I expect this DB room to hopefully make guys like those guys beat you, right? I want to see a Luke McCaffrey make a couple of different plays, or even, I mean, you guys used the running backs a lot in the receiving game in week 1.
They were our best receivers last week.
if plays like that happen, man, you kind of almost have to tip your cap, but don't let guys like Terry McLaurin beat you. I'm not necessarily saying go out and double cover Terry McLaurin, shade a safety over, but if it comes down to it, do it, because I think that's what Daniels is really looking for. And let's talk about the big elephant in the room. I mean, when you speak on guys like Dexter Lawrence, I mean, this guy, he can't get blocked by one guy in this league. I think Jason Kelsey had his number for years on years. And other than him, there's not really one guy that can go toe-to-toe. You're going to have to double team this guy. But I'm looking at Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns. I mean, week 1, they really had a shutout in the opposite way. They put up nothing. Kayvon Thibodeau didn't register anything heading into week 1, and that's not what you expect out of this guy that was the number 5th overall pick at one point in time. And it's almost like the same syndrome with Daniel Jones. I know you can do it against the Commanders, but what happens when you go against a top tackle in this league? That's when you got to show up. I mean, you look at Aiden Hutchinson in week 1. Aiden Hutchinson, which is in the same class as Kayvon Thibodeau, was dominant in his week 1 performance. Like pass win rush rate, man, he was eating completely versus Kayvon. He was getting shut down by guys like Christian Darrisaw and their right tackle over there in Minnesota. So, I mean, I'm looking at, the DBs might not be as strong for us, but the D-line has to get after Jaden Daniels. When you look at what you traded for to get Brian Burns and what you're paying him, you got to reap the rewards somehow, some way. And I think, honestly, if they don't put up anything, I would be shocked. I mean, looking at it for you guys, I don't really know the household names over there at the tackle position for you guys.
They're not household yet. That's why.
Yeah, and I think that's something that they have to exploit in this matchup. I mean, you have this front 4 for a reason. They have to get after the QB and make it a little easier for your DBs. I mean, if you take away the quick stuff and Jaden Daniels has to hold on to the ball a little bit, that's what you want, because hopefully your pass rush gets home. And there's no reason why this Giants team should not be doing that heading to this matchup. Hey, we got a couple people in the building. Make sure you liking up the stream. Comment some things in the chat, man. We trying to put y'all on.
Smash that like button. Smash that like button.
We trying to push this content out there, man. TP, appreciate you once again for the comment. He says Jaden Daniels is going to be a problem for sure. As soon as he puts it all together, it's up. Listen, like I said, his legs and him running around is going to be one of his key features as a quarterback. I think personally, I don't think that's something that should leave his game. But hopefully he's running all in the backfield heading into the Sunday. I don't want to see anything crossing the line of scrimmage. I think you could look at, possibly even putting a linebacker spying him because that's his game. That's his game, whether you want it right now. Until further notice, he has to prove to beat us by his arm. That's what you have to prove. So speaking on you guys, right? I mean, you talked about the running backs. You have new additions like Austin Eckler. I mean, seeing Brian Robinson, he looked good. At times last year, it kind of looked a little off, but in this week 1 matchup, he looked good. What are some of the X factors you feel like for your offense side of the ball heading into this matchup?
Our pass catchers were more effective when we were throwing them. Our running backs, they were more effective as pass catchers last week. I need our wide receivers to actually step up and not. Well, my bad. No, I need our wide receivers to be wide receivers this week because, including Terry, our leading receiver was Luke McCaffrey with 3 catches for 18 yards last week. That cannot be a thing in week 2. And Luke, if we dial up a trick play this week, maybe try to throw the ball because we did line up a play where we threw a screen to Luke and Luke was supposed to throw it across the field back to Jaden, and we had it blocked up with 1 Buccaneer to 6 command. Jaden probably takes it 40 yards to the crib if he throws it, but that's a hard throw to make. I know he played quarterback in college for a little bit, but back to the pass catcher. De'Ami Brown made a 60-minute documentary about his offseason and registered 0 catches on Sunday. So I need De'Ami Brown to show me what he shows us in training camp. I'm tired of seeing training camp clips of him running past defenders. Then on Sunday, there's an APB out for him. I need our wide receivers, and including the tight end. I think Zach Ertz, and I need to see Ben Sinnott, our rookie second-round tight end. He didn't get any playing time last week. I want to see him on the field. That was supposed to be the plan. We're running 12 formation and all that. We didn't really get in our bag versus Tampa. I think Cliff Kingsbury and company, they realized we were playing a significantly better opponent and a very aggressive defense coached by Todd Bowles, and we came in with the training wheels on the offense. We came in, we didn't want to give them all the stuff yet because they didn't want to make it too fast for Jaden Daniels in week 1. But we got to establish the run at some point of this game because it felt like there were times in the game where Cliff refused to run the ball. We have Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson Jr. Pound the rock and open up some lanes for Jaden to then gash you with his arm. Terry McLaurin is your wide receiver 1. Say what you want about where he ranks lead wide. He is our number 1 receiver. We need to get him in rhythm. Throw him a slant. Throw him a dig. Throw him a curl. Throw him a quick out. Get the ball in his hands a few times. Get him in a rhythm because I see every team in the league who has a number 1 receiver, and I don't care how they're defended, they make a concerted effort to get him the ball. We don't do that enough with Terry McLaurin. And what ends up happening, like last Sunday, he doesn't get his first catch until the 3rd quarter. That cannot happen ever again, Cliff Kingsbury. I need that same energy you had for D-Hop in Arizona with Terry McLaurin. So we need to establish the run. We need to make a concerted effort to get Terry McLaurin the ball, and our wide receivers actually need to wear their uniforms, run some routes, gain some separation, and make something shake this week because the wide receivers did absolutely nothing. It was a completely obsolete room in week 1.
And I think it's interesting you brought up even D-Hop in Arizona. I look at almost Terry McLaurin having same situation as D-Hop. I mean, this guy hasn't had a consistent quarterback play at all in his whole career with Washington.
11 starting quarterbacks.
That's insane. And we've seen guys like Taylor Heineke. We've seen other guys step in, and Sam Howell even have some flashes, but not consistent quarterback play. And I think, he's still been putting up numbers for you guys. He doesn't get talked about enough, man. He really doesn't, especially coming out of Ohio State.
Our strongest soldier, man. That's our strongest soldier right there. Shout out to Terry.
And all respect to him, man. John, appreciate you. He says this is going to be a completely different game, completely different playing quarterback. 100%, I think, on both sides of the ball. I mean, looking at Daniel Jones, what he's going to be for you guys and what Jaden Daniels is going to be. I mean, that was one of the most disappointing things for us in week 1. And it's hard to really – it's still a bad taste in my mouth. I was talking all week. Sam Darnold, no way. No way Sam Darnold's going to dice us up. And Sam Darnold was looking like Jared Goff for 3 quarters.
Kevin O'Connell is a bad boy coaching that team.
And I spoke on it. I knew Kevin O'Connell was going to be good, but at the end of the day, heading into that matchup, I said, there's no way you let Sam Darnold beat you. And that's what happened. And unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately, now we got a rookie quarterback, but I think his skill set is completely different from Sam Darnold. He's explosive. I mean, you can't let that guy sit back there and possibly throw the ball, but you also can't let him outrun
He can
you.
sling that thing too. I know we didn't get a chance to showcase what his right arm does, but that right arm is a lot more powerful, has a lot more juice than people give it credit for. It's his first ever home game. We're pulling out the gold pants. Wale's performing at halftime.
Wow.
It's going to be litty at Northwest Stadium. Our first game under the new title, Northwest Stadium. It's gonna be lit on Sunday.
Yeah, you gotta change something, but I'm hoping that you guys don't build anything with that. Eric Lynn, appreciate you. Says less corners in a circle. I mean, that says enough. But like I said, on both sides, almost man.
Relatable.
I want Deontay Banks to step up for sure. But even looking past that, I mean, Adoree Jackson went through all offseason, did not receive a single offer, and then comes back on this team. I mean, it was awkward because we drafted a corner in this past draft and gave him number 22. I didn't expect Adoree to come back. And I can't honestly say that he expected to come back either. And yet we're here, man. Jabari saying you jinxed the neighbor's touchdown. He's on my fantasy team. Listen, man. I mean, heading into that matchup, I did, post up a bit. And I wanted to not start a new thing. I seen it on Twitter. I was saying we need to welcome teams to the neighborhood. We need neighbors to be in the end zone.
Do it again this week. Do it
neighborhood.
Call it. Listen, call the neighborhood back out, man.
I'm not saying nothing right now for Jabari's sake on his fantasy team. But overall, like you were saying with Jaden Daniels' arm, listen, I've seen enough Malik Neighbors highlights to know that he has an arm. I mean, we've seen Malik Neighbors running past guys in college consistently, and then Jaden Daniels practically adding layups to his game. So thinking about Malik Neighbors heading to this matchup, man, once again, at one point it was a little scary. I mean, out of nowhere, he has a knee issue. He's limited in practice. At one point, I'm like, man, is he even going to play? Because this came out of the blue. Luckily today, they kind of did push that aside and said there is no, designee for him going into this matchup. He should be able to play. But with him in this matchup, man, we have to, like you said, target him. Give this man the ball. I mean, I seen it in week 1. It looked like they were running a lot of certain plays, design plays from Malik Neighbors to be open and give him the ball, whether it's in the screen game, whether it's in, certain route combinations coming off of a motion. Malik Neighbors was supposed to get the ball half the time. But like I said, I mean, Jones is getting rid of the ball late. Jones is pumping. Jones is, worried about someone tackling him. We talked about it with Sam Darnold. At one point, his quote was, "I'm seeing ghosts." DJ was looking like he was seeing ghosts out there, man, because I understand Brian Flores does have a, aggressive defense, kind of similar to Dan Quinn. But once again, the players weren't up to par like, prior years. I think heading into our matchup together with Dan Quinn, he diced Daniel Jones up these past couple of years out there in the Cowboys. As much as, we have certain dislikes for certain teams in our division. I mean, the Cowboys is something I can never get after and never love in general. But we got to be honest. Dan Quinn does not have Micah Parsons. He doesn't have, Diggs on the other side of the ball, or even when you look at guys breaking records for pick sixes. Like, he doesn't have Deron Bland on that defense right now. So maybe he can't be as aggressive as you would think.
But he did create those guys in Dallas, though, because there's no Deron Bland without Joe Witt Jr. and Dan Quinn. That secondary and that defense was awful when he got there. He doesn't have the same groceries he had in Dallas, but he did help create some of those guys in that secondary. So I will give him that, though.
That is true, but hopefully in week 2 we don't got to see any of those guys yet. It's only week 2. Hopefully that building process is not there. Like I said, heading to this matchup, Neighbors got to get all the targets. He has to, because when you look at it around the league and look at it for the Giants these past couple of years, we haven't had a pass catcher like Malik Neighbors on this team. I mean, we haven't had a 1,000-yard receiver since Odell left, and I mean, the more we go away from it, I mean, it's not almost at a decade, but we're closer to it than not, So. Right. Heading into it, man, we need Malik Neighbors to be that guy. And he had 56 yards in his first matchup. I mean, we had guys scaling that out over, these 17 games, and that'll be our first 1,000-yard receiver. But I need more than that, man. I need more than that. I need him to get opportunities to, break some tackles, and also just, make game-changing plays. I think that's something that we've been lacking for a while. And, after we lose a guy like Saquon Barkley, I'm not going to talk about him too much. But after we lose a guy like Saquon Barkley, man, the plays got to come from somewhere. The plays got to come from somewhere. And you trust your quarterback that you're paying all that money to. Trust your wide receiver that you drafted for him. That's what you brought him in here for as well. H2O, appreciate you for the comment. He says DJ always cooks the Commanders. We got this. No matter how much we suck, we always find a way to win. I second that completely. Even times that I might want us to lose, we can against the Commanders. And hopefully, I mean, this happened a couple of years ago. Hopefully, we do not tie with y'all. That'll be the epitome of the feeling leaving this game. There's no way we walk
worst
away with
feeling in football. Like a draw is worse than a loss, bro. We wasted all of our Sunday afternoon watching a tie. I hated that game so much.
It was so bad. Tom, appreciate you. He said, personally, I think we should just rush 40 times with B-Rob and Eckler. Listen, I mean, I wouldn't even blame you guys if you lean on the running game.
40
last week with Aaron Jones, he put up a quiet 94. It didn't feel like it, but when you look at the touchdown he put up and a couple of runs he did gash on us, historically, man, I've been looking for this Giants team to stand up against the run for years. And when I say years, I'm not even kidding when I say that. I mean, we haven't had good linebacker play for us in a little while, especially considering, we have a top D line with Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence, that at least we hoped. But yet here we are still not being able to stop the run, and guys are able to just continue building drives, because that's what really builds drives. I mean, why would you're sitting at 3rd and 3. Are you going to run the ball? Are you going to throw the ball? If you can run it on the team, you're going to run that ball. I mean, we've seen it with us as well. So, I mean, if y'all run it 40 times, the Giants have to stand up to it somehow, some way.
At some point, right? I think we got the edge on the running back department because Devin Singletary and Tyrone Trey, that doesn't make me miss any sleep at night. I know y'all are desperately missing Saquon. I'm glad to see him not there, but y'all let him go find literal greener pastures in Philly, and we're about to watch him score 20 touchdowns this year. Hate that y'all let that happen, but our running backs, I don't know about running it 40 times, but I do think we need to run enough to establish the run, and we need to split them between the 2 running backs and the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, that's definitely a recipe for winning if you're able to do that. Not every team can go out and run 40 times. If you're able to pull that off, I mean, hats off to you.
It's 2024, man. 40 rushes is a little crazy, but we can definitely give them a good 25, 27 carries between the 2 running backs, though.
Jabari saying, I hope the Giants win, but I know we're going to lose. Oh, man. DJ isn't worth the money. We need to rebuild. And building on that, this man said, considering the circumstance of what happened, would you finally say Saquon Barkley pick was a mistake? It went off and saying, I make the reason why we would have still struggled today. I mean, looking at it, this is going to be a tail end. You're talking about owners and GMs. Our GM, I think Dave Gettleman didn't do a great job for us. I mean, heading into that draft, personally, I feel like we held on to Eli Manning a little too long. And even holding on to Eli Manning too long and not having a good roster around him. I mean, I talked about it last week with Rap. Listen, Eli Manning's a Hall of Famer, but that last little years of his career is what really tainted it, because the team wasn't good, and let alone he didn't have the greatest performances. But when you look at those rosters, man, I mean, outside of Odell, it's like kind of what we look at right now. I mean, Malik Neighbors on this offense is like a Lamborghini outside of a trailer home. Like, that's literally what you imagine, and that's what it was with Odell with that team with Eli. So heading into it with that number 2 overall pick, I mean, I was in high school at this time. I was wanting Saquon Barkley. I would be a liar to tell you that I didn't want him, especially considering all the plays that he makes. And shoot, I mean, he was one of the highest running backs ever taken in the league in general. But like you said, or like other people speak on, he had all the talent. It's just considering that roster, that's not the right pick. And I wouldn't say that pick set us back years, because when you look at the other quarterbacks in that class, I mean, we just saw him last week. Sam Darnold would have been one of those guys, and Sam Darnold might have not worked out in New York.
Could have drafted Josh Rosen. It could have been bad either way. It could have but at least you got a player that actually put good film and was the identity of the team throughout his rookie contract. But I know y'all miss him right now.
Hey, I mean, we need a playmaker in general for sure. G-Man saying DJ had 5 touchdowns in his first game against Washington, but apart from that, he's just been okay against them. Last game was 160 yards and no touchdowns. DJ is not the same quarterback that we saw in his rookie year. He's not the same quarterback that we saw in year 2. I mean, we had guys come in and really set him back. I mean, looking at it from your side of the ball, I'm even thinking what he was when we first played you guys. I mean, Daniel Jones never strikes fear in your heart, but somehow, some way, he got it done against you guys. I mean, what world do you see like DJ really playing well this upcoming Sunday? And would it shock you, or would it kind of have you, feeling normal?
I don't think it should look anything like some of these other games, because during Ron and Jack Del Rio's tenure in DC, we didn't have linebackers. Like, we did not have linebackers at all. We have Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner out there now. In week one, were they the greatest show on turf? No, they were not. But those are significant upgrades. So all that Daniel Jones running around, gashing us up the middle, taking a read option 60 yards up the left side of the field. I don't expect to see that with Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu out there. And Jaron Payne and Jonathan Allen, I'm hoping our second round pick, Jerzon Johnny Newton, plays, because I'm dying to see him, because that guy's going to be a killer when he gets in the lineup. He's explosive as hell, and he had no business being there in the second round. He should have been a first round pick, but he had some foot issues. But no, I don't expect to see Daniel Jones doing all that stuff he got off for the last few years. The guy is just not a good quarterback. He's not a good quarterback. He still makes rookie mistakes. He still's not processing and seeing the field like a 6-year veteran. He made a lot. If you go back and watch Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, and Jaden Daniels, mix Daniel Jones film from week one, just mix it in the middle of theirs, and you're watching 4 rookie quarterbacks. And that's crazy, because we're talking about a guy with $40 million a year, $160 million, and even in the season he won y'all the playoff game, he threw for less than 1 touchdown a game for the duration of that season. He threw for 15 touchdowns in a year that got him paid. He did outplay Kirk Cousins in that Minnesota playoff game, but paying a guy $40 million a year coming off a season where he threw for under 20 touchdowns. Jones hasn't thrown for 20 touchdowns in 5 years. He hasn't had a 3-touchdown game in 5 years. We're in the year of 2024. We were in a pre-COVID world the last time Daniel Jones actually had a good season. I've had enough of seeing him beat us. That ends this Sunday.
Listen, I mean, I think you, once again, everything is factual. I mean, I want our quarterback to go out there and win. I do, but there's nothing that's showing me that he can. I mean, coming off of the ACL is something, and people want to talk about rust, but the couple mistakes that we're seeing, it's not rust. I mean, he's clutching it. He's not letting it fly. And last time I checked, the ACL is not in your elbow. Let the ball rip. Throw the ball. Like, that's simply the things that I'm asking from him, because once again, it's not like the routes aren't there. Even looking at it after that playoff game, the biggest thing that was pointed out to me is that he outplayed Kirk Cousins. That defense was terrible. That Vikings defense was terrible. But he outplayed Kirk Cousins with guys like Isaiah Hodgins. Kenny Golladay wasn't even making any plays for us. We had guys like Daniel Bellinger being one of our top pass catchers at the tight end position. Overall, he did it with guys that are on practice squad. So I'm over here like, hey, year 2 of this system, go out and get him a guy. We get Darren Waller. We weren't able to get a wide receiver, but Darren Waller, I mean, he's as good as a wide receiver, at least we thought. Yep. He did have some injury issues, but all in all, he just couldn't get in sync with Daniel Jones. As much as we try to force it, and we've seen it with Kadarius Toney, we've seen it with Kenny Golladay, we've seen it with multiple guys. Now we got neighbors, and once again, it might be a Lamborghini outside of a trailer home. Like, it's sad to say, but every year we're talking about get him weapons, get him weapons, get him weapons. When is the excuses going to stop?
There's a name that you have not said once all stream, and I told Giants fans when y'all drafted him, Jalen Hyatt is a dirt route runner. I haven't heard you say Jalen Hyatt's name once. Why is that?
Listen, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate because he didn't get any snaps in week 1. He got like 4 snaps or 5 snaps, and not real snaps.
And he's healthy?
And he's healthy, completely healthy. It almost makes me think something is behind the scenes, whether it be with the quarterback or with the coaches. I mean, I think we can both agree. I think Darius Slayton, and Darius Slayton's had good games against you guys. I think he's a better receiver right now than Jalen Hyatt. But at the end of the day, you traded up in the 3rd round to get him. Year 2, there's only so many years you have left on his contract. You got to give him run and see what he can do as a wide receiver. And granted, we know he's a speedster and he's just going to run past guys. But even using that as a decoy is good to put pressure on the defense. And we didn't even see him on the field at all. He should get more snaps heading into it, especially considering Darius Slayton had a concussion, I believe. It's looking like he's trending towards playing. They say he has no injury designation for this game. But Jalen Hyatt, it should be a guy we're talking about, and we're not. And that's just another thing where you spoke on it for your franchise, not hitting on picks. I mean, you look at it for us. Not hitting on a pick like that is serious. Having Kadarius Toney be drafted in the 1st round and not hitting for us is a serious problem, and it sets teams back. And Jalen Hyatt,
Evan Neal as well.
Jalen Hyatt should be a guy we should be speaking on, but I think it's less on him and more on the quarterback. And You even look at it. I mean, he balled out last year or did a lot better with Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor was letting it fly and he was making some plays. Daniel Jones wasn't doing that last year. So, I mean, hopefully it's a guy we speak on as I catch up in the chat real quick. I'll never forget Dexter Lawrence jumping offsides week 2. One of the most frustrating games I've ever watched.
The only time we beat Daniel Jones, man. I was at that game. That was so lit.
That was a really good game to go to. That is a really good game. I mean, that was a Thursday night or a Monday night game, I believe.
Thursday night. Darius Slayton dropped a wide open touchdown. Dexter Lawrence jumps offside, and we missed the game-winning field goal. We got a second opportunity at it. Man, Daniel Jones had like a 60-yard run called back. What a time.
Listen, I think one of the things that kind of doesn't get looked on, and obviously the Giants lost that game, but that pick that Taylor Heineke threw to Bradbury was inexcusable. I mean, you guys win the game with nothing else if that pick doesn't get thrown. And then in Giants fashion, we don't move the ball, settle for a field goal, and the rest is history. But that game still haunts me. I went to work and someone put a newspaper article about Darius Slayton's drop on my locker, and I still can't forgive him for that.
That's hilarious.
Brian Brown, appreciate you. He said JD has to beat us in the pocket. It's not about to be run over the Giants this year. I mean, once again, we spoke on it. We can't let him beat us with his legs. And if he does, it's going to be a problem because, quarterbacks with legs gives us problems specifically. I mean, you look at other QBs around this league, some guys make it known. Now, I don't know if I can say Jaden Daniels is as electric as a guy like Lamar Jackson, but you see shades of it. I mean, you don't rush for 80 yards, by accident. So that's what I think when it comes to that. Jabari saying, can we call him Daniel Jones? He doesn't deserve a nickname. No abbreviations, no DJ.
Dimes. He ain't Dimes no more.
that one we throwing in the bag. We throwing out back, man. G-Man 2011. I love that year. Let's go back to that. That's my point, guys. Can't expect a win just because we're playing Washington. I think we lose 24-13, unfortunately. And man, once again, if this happens, I talked about it all year and even in my schedule prediction. There's 3 things that are, given in life: death, taxes, and beating the Commanders. That's what it's been for us this past couple of years. I don't think it should be if this changes, then I definitely know it's a change of tides for this Giants team, because that's just something that hasn't happened for us. And there's even times where there's years where you guys are beating undefeated teams. I believe you beat the Steelers when they were undefeated.
Yeah, we beat the Eagles on Monday Night Football when they were undefeated with our backup quarterback. We beat the Steelers that year with Alex Smith playing on one leg post-surgery. We have a habit of doing things like that.
And after those matchups and facing us, I even talked about it in our preview games where I'm just like, you never know. I mean, this team went out and beat a talented team. They should handle business. But if anything, kind of points towards division games are different. Division games are not the type of game that you see in a regular season, because teams play up differently. The fans play it differently. Everything's taken different when it comes into it, man. So even looking past the Giants, I know we're talking about for this upcoming Sunday, where do you guys feel like you stand up against the other teams like the Eagles and the Cowboys? I mean, those guys are ready, to go make a run, and the Cowboys are always in Super Bowl contention. The Eagles are always in Super Bowl contention. But, where do you feel like you stack up in terms of the projection of your team? I mean, drafting a rookie quarterback, you want him to be a franchise guy. And like we said, hopefully he progresses and you even build on that next year. How do you feel about that heading into it?
We're in the process of trying to get rid of all of Ron Rivera's mistakes. So we got some catching up to do before we start talking about Philly and the Eagles. We need to beat y'all first things first. For whatever reason, though, we always play the Eagles really good. Like last year, Sam Howell threw for like 700 yards and like 5 touchdowns to 1 pick versus the Eagles. And if we went to overtime and we had a Terry catch called back, we probably would have went down there and won in overtime at the Link. And in DC, it was also a shootout. Sam Howell's best 2 games of his rookie year came against the Philadelphia Eagles. So for whatever reason, we always keep up with them. Dallas, they've been getting in our ass for a little bit, but we're not on those teams' levels right now. I will admit it. I would like to see how we compete versus those teams. I know Dan Quinn is going to be extra motivated because he knows exactly what that Dallas Cowboys offense is capable of. But we got to see what we are before we talk about that. We got to beat y'all. We got to prove that y'all are the basement bottom dwellers of the division and not us now. We won 4 games last year, so we cannot look past anybody in the division. We're looking up to everybody, and it starts this weekend with getting this Daniel Jones stuff out of our system, because I need Dan Quinn to continue his trend, because 1-1 versus us. That's got to stop right now. But I'm very confident in Jaden Daniels. I'm confident in his ability. I'm confident in his intelligence and the way he processes and sees the field. Y'all are under Shane Bowen. Y'all are not as aggressive as Todd Bowles. Y'all are going to rely more on your front rather than sending extra guys. I need our offensive line to hold up. Your guy, Bobby Johnson, is my offensive line coach now. And we heard so much bad things coming in. The O-line played well. They played fine. They held up versus Tampa. Their only problem was they had trouble communicating and picking up blitzes. Todd Bowles was sending corners in the B gap and sending backers on stunts, and our O-line was not able to pick them up. But straight up, front versus front, they held up for the majority of the day. Jaden Daniels, despite all the pressure he was under all day, no turnovers, and that is huge. He even put the ball in the ground a couple times with some fumbles, and we recovered every single one of them. I'm confident on what we have on the offensive side of the ball in this matchup this week.
There's a lot of Daniels talk in this, preview and leading up to all this week. So, I mean, I'm even fumbling coming out of it because on one side you have a positive feeling about a Daniel, the other side you don't.
DJ versus JD.
Yeah, literally. Brian Brown, he said, we ruined DJ. He plays like he doesn't trust his O-line, which I don't blame him, and like he doesn't want to make a mistake. I sure hope he can bounce back this game, or it might be wraps moving forward. And I think that's where we're at. I mean, right now we're at a pitch in the road, man. You're either gonna go one way and be this quarterback for at least the rest of this year, or the Drew Lock and the Tommy DeVito, Tommy Cutlass talk is gonna get loud, and you might see it moving forward, man. As I catch up in the chat, everyone that's in here, go ahead and drop your X factor heading into this game. Whether you're a Giants fan or a Commanders fan, go ahead and drop your X factor, and we'll be talking about our X factor Rio as well, heading into this matchup, and what could really change. And then we'll be talking about score predictions shortly, man. Brian Brown or Jabari, not gonna lie, we are gonna lose both games to Washington. We are the worst team.
Pull them brooms out. That's what I'm talking about, Jabari. Pull them brooms out.
Hey, Jabari, I know how you feel about your fantasy team and what happened, man, but not to the Commanders. Not to the Commanders. That's all I ask. Because even looking at it for us, I mean, I don't put us up there with the Cowboys. I don't put us up there with the Eagles. They're a tough matchup for a reason, and they're top teams in their respective, obviously, conferences in general. Really looking into it, I really hope that Daniel Jones shows some type of life, because if not, once again, man, I mean, Drew Lock or Tommy Cutlass is gonna have to come in, because we have to at least be serviceable. Fight for your pride. We're not going out here trying to lose games by 20, not scoring the end zone. The Giants are the only team that didn't get in the end zone after week 1. That's sick. That's sick, and there's no excuses for that. This offense has been bad for a while. I put it on Brian Daboll. You came in head coach of this team. You won coach of the year, but that offensive mind that you were in Buffalo, and you transformed Josh Allen to what he is now. You got to be able to stand up and once again fight for your pride. Brian Daboll, make some type of offensive system, prove it, and regardless of who the quarterback is, you need to go out and win games. You won games with Tommy DeVito. You won games with Tyrod Taylor. I mean, if Daniel Jones isn't the guy, you got to at least fight for yourself, because if not, you could be on the hot seat if you already are not. Jabari saying, other than the Cowboys, they're hilarious. I mean, I don't blame it. Paul, appreciate you, man. He says the Skins improved immensely. Listen, I mean, they're not the Skins anymore. You might get canceled if you say that too loudly. The Giants are horrible because of DJ. And yeah, I said Skins. I'm never saying Commanders.
Hey, more power to you, man.
How do you feel on that? Were you shocked when it came to that, or
I really could care. I could care less, bro. I'd call them winners. Call them the NFC East champions. Call them the NFC champions. Call them the Super Bowl champions. I really could care less about the name of the football team. I'm a younger fan. I didn't see the glory days, but regardless of what you want to call this football team, the name never meant anything to me. It's the people that are here. It's the team. It's the lore of the team, the colors, all of that. And they're still here. Just win football. I don't care about the name of the football team at all. Not one bit.
That got tested immensely, because when you have stars on your team, you kind of want them to stay there. You see guys like Odell get traded. You see guys like Saquon walk away. I mean, granted, some people love Daniel Jones, and beyond it, if Daniel Jones goes somewhere else, yes, I believe the Giants messed him up, but you root for the team that's on the front of the jersey, not the back of it. That's who you root for at the end of the day. And I think regardless of who's in the position where they are, no matter what the team is, you got to be rooting for your squad at the end of the day. So I definitely can agree with that. G-Man saying his X factor is Commanders running back Robinson. If they get the run game going, we are screwed. I mean, Nothing else to say on that. Once again, the running game, if they're able to run all over us, we've seen it from time to time over the past couple of years. I actually think that they won't be able to be as successful when you look at other teams. I mean, Aaron Jones is a slippery runner. Brian Robinson is a physical runner. We just kind of have to meet him. Eckler, how do you feel about Eckler overall?
That is my X factor. The name you just said, Austin Eckler. Eckler is not washed. Eckler, to be perfectly honest, I think Eckler should get more touches than Brian Robinson. I think we're in a split running back by committee situation, but I think Eckler still right now at this age is the more dynamic running back and the better fit for Cliff Kingsbury's offense. That's my X factor on Sunday. Throw it to him, hand it to him, just get that guy in space with the ball in his hand, and he's going to make some stuff happen. I need to see more touches from Austin Eckler. That's my X factor.
Yeah, I mean, Austin Eckler, we saw what he was over there in the Chargers. He kind of got phased out of there, especially when they got Justin Herbert on their team. But that's someone I'm looking at for you guys too. I mean, this was a guy when they were hosting those running back meetings together, trying to find a way for the running back value to get up.
The little PowerPoint.
They came together and said, let's go start playing for our teams. Let's not hold out, because shortly after that, you've seen Saquon report, Josh Jacobs report. And I mean, the rest is history. Everyone else moved. I mean, Josh Jacobs is in Green Bay. Saquon went somewhere else. Austin Eckler went somewhere else. But overall, Austin Eckler was a dynamic running back. And, I got to see it. I don't know. There's some videos out there in when he was out there with the Chargers that it looks like he's running with ankle weights on. So hopefully
they were his workload was too heavy in Los Angeles. They were relying on him to be like an Adrian Peterson type bell cow back. His running back coach here is a guy who he had immense success with, Anthony Lynn and the Chargers. That's his running backs coach here now in DC. He's my X factor. I'm telling you, Austin Eckler looks good. He looks spry. He's in great shape. That boy looks good, man. We got a two-headed monster.
Hopefully we don't see that. And I think, like you were speaking on, you're going almost by running back by committee or a two-back system. Having that keeps your guys fresh, and ultimately they're able to go out and hopefully stay fresh for the rest of the game overall. So I can definitely understand that. For me, the X factor is the D-line. And now I know that's not a specific position, but when you look at it, and he was speaking on what my guy Max Customs over here saying, Burn and Tibbs are the X factors for sure. This is where you're really going to see if this Giants team is going to be any type of good this year. I mean, you go out and you trade for a guy like Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau. You're the number 5 overall pick heading into year 3. This is where you really start to cement yourself if you're a player that's going to get a second contract of this team or not. You got to go out there and play. And I said it on my preview video, he has 15.5 sacks in his career, and almost 5.5 or 6 of them came against the Commanders. That's over a third in one team, against one team. You got to go out and do it against other teams. And if you're going to be any type of, duo in this league or duo in New York and supposed to take over for that D line, you got to show out against the Commanders. I don't think there's any offensive tackle that should be guarding them or should be blocking them down or washing them out. And slowly but surely, once again, man, I mean, Burns, we traded for you where you're getting paid $30 million a year, premium money at the edge rusher position. You need to go out there and ball out, and you need to be the X factor heading into it. If you don't, it's gonna be long.
Thibodeau is y'all's defensive equivalent to Daniel Jones. He only shows up versus us. I feel like 90% of his career sack production is versus Charles Leno and the Washington Commanders, bro. I swear he has like 6 sacks off of us. He forced the fumble that y'all scored off of in a game we had in Washington a couple years ago. Tibbs definitely gives me nightmares, but I call Kayvon Thibodeau Chase Young Jr., where his production only comes in spurts, and he carries himself and talks and walks like a superstar, but he produces like a role player. I hope we're able to figure out a way to figure him out, because Kayvon Thibodeau is not that nice. But for whatever reason, when Washington shows up on that schedule, he's like the second coming of Khalil Mack. I don't need that on Sunday.
And that's what I'm rooting for. And if we don't, things can get ugly quick, man. Jabari said, did you just say, I hope the Giants fight for their pride? We have not been watching the same New York midgets these past 5 years. Listen, I know what it has been, Jabari. I know what it has been. But at one point in time, you have to at least fight for your pride. At least. These guys are getting paid millions of dollars to go out there and get washed every week. There's no way. As fans, I even spoke on it on my little rant after we lost to the Vikings. We do not deserve that. Paying all that money. And when you have players complaining about, the fans booing, go out and play better. The easiest way to shut fans up is to go out and play better. And once again, that has to go hand in hand with your pride. Jabari saying, I'm not a hater. I'm just a realistic critic for this team. We just suck. Listen, I can't blame you for it. But the only team we don't suck against is the Commanders. And until that happens, I'm not going to change that type of energy. Paul saying, didn't mean to raise Kane with the skins comment, but I really appreciate Rio. He's a knowledgeable fan. He'll be laughing at us Giants fans until we get a new quarterback, Juke. Hey, man, I think a lot of us are going to be not even laughing. We're going to need the tissues next to us because after Sunday, how does it feel like the season's over after 1 week? How does that happen? How does that happen? And this happened 2 years in a row. 2 years in a row. It's inexcusable, you know? So Max saying Rio's going to have nightmares about Tibbs. I hope he does. I hope Thibodeau, goes out and has a 2-sack performance.
Charles Leno Jr. is not walking through that door anymore. And that he used to take Charles Leno's lunch money every time we played y'all. No, I can't see it.
Hey, Bobby Johnson is on that side, though. We need something to go our way. Something to go our way. 2 giant goofballs. Wow, that's interesting. What's up, everybody? What's going on, my guy? Appreciate you for tapping in and going ahead and dropping a comment. Max Custom saying Chase Young Jr. is hilarious. Once again, we wanted Chase Young at one point, and we saw what happened. I think the ACL kind of played into his, tenure, though.
His work ethic is terrible. His work ethic is awful.
You see it more. You definitely see it more than me.
Yeah, he's too busy getting down on U Street than working out in the off season. But I ain't gonna go there right now. Best of luck in New Orleans.
100%. Says it here right as well. Season isn't over after 1 week. It just begins when DJ is benched. Listen,
this week is it. What better time than now? I want to see Cutlets or Lock on Sunday, bro. What better team? How Shakespearean of an ending of Daniel Jones' starting career would it be if Washington's the team that forces him to the bench? It has to be. That's what the script writers they write stuff like this for a reason, man. Let's go.
All isn't right in the world. At that point, I'm gonna have to start looking at what's happening. Like if that happens, man, we're cooked. We're beyond cooked. G-Man saying Banks versus McLaurin will be another big test for Banks. McLaurin is a great receiver. And you touched on it a little bit in the beginning of the stream. Banks is a talker, and he talked the most after we won one of the performances against the Commanders. He was saying that, McLaurin is his son. I have the receipts. It's somewhere out there. If you search the videos, he was going out saying McLaurin is his son. I don't want to go to those lengths yet. I like to see the confidence out of my guy, but you're going to have to double down on it because best believe McLaurin definitely saw that. And when you look at it, McLaurin as a receiver in this league versus Banks as a cornerback in this league, they're on 2 different levels right now. So hopefully he's able to double down on that. We don't see it too much, but overall, once again, man, it's definitely going to be a huge test.
I need us circling that matchup. I need us going I need Terry for 7 for 125 and a touchdown on Banks because that young boy must be humble. I know he's a Maryland Turpin. He's a DMV boy, but that boy must be humble. He was talking crazy on that Instagram live last year.
He most definitely was. Omega, appreciate you. What's going on? Appreciate you tapping in. We made it towards the end of the preview, man. If you're heading into it, go ahead. If you're in the comments, drop down your score predictions on there. We're going to be talking about our score predictions now. I'll go first after I gave you the X Factor first. And looking at it overall, like I said, I've been talking about this whole stream. I don't have the most confidence in the world. I don't. After week 1, how can you have a confidence like that? But if I'm going to be weird with you, man, I think we're going to win 21-17. It's not going to be a high-scoring game from each side of the ball. When you look at it with the quarterbacks, one guy is struggling. Another quarterback is trying to figure it out. And once again, I hope this isn't the Jaden Daniels breakout game. He's going to have that eventually, but I hope this isn't that type of situation. I just hope Daniel Jones can lead a competent offense, score 3 touchdowns. The crazy stat is you look at it over Twitter. Shout out to Authentic. If anyone knows Authentic, shout out to Authentic.
Shout out to Authentic in the beard.
No, he hasn't had pass for 3 touchdowns since 2019.
5 years.
On it. This is before the COVID mask came out. This is before it all. It's been way too long. And I'm not saying he's doing that this week, but at least put up 3 touchdowns as an offense. You can't go out there. Brian Daboll, if you're watching this, which I hope you are, fight for your job. That's what we're here for. As fans, we're going to be the emotional ones. We're going to be up and down. Yes, we'll boo you. But guess what? If you play better, we'll cheer for you. But if you do not go out there and perform and this team doesn't turn around shortly, I don't want to see it. A coach of the year 2 years ago, but you might be out of the building. And at the end of the day, I think they're all out there trying to feed their families. I don't want to see another family go, hungry. You know what I'm saying? So 21-17, that's my score prediction. G-Men get the dub 1-1, and we could talk about the rest of the season later.
Oh man, see my score prediction. As much as I wish we could come out and set the tone and just blow y'all out the gates in Jayden's first home game, we're bringing the gold pants back for the first time since changing the name to Commanders. Wale concert at halftime, first game at Northwest Stadium, but it's a divisional game. And when these two teams get on a field together, it gets nasty. It gets ugly. And I think it's one of those muck 'em up scores. Washington 20-19. 20-19, 1-point victory in which our fifth kicker that we've signed this season makes the game-winning field goal. Austin Siebert, our fifth kicker. Brandon McManus, gone. Ramses Ahmed, gone. Riley Patterson, gone. And Cade York, a guy we traded a seventh round conditional pick for, which we get to keep because we released him after week 1 after starting 0 for 2 and kicking the ball out of bounds and giving the Bucs the ball at the 40-yard line. 20-19, 290 total yards for Jayden Daniels. 2 Jayden Daniels touchdown, 1 passing, 1 rushing, and I got y'all scoring 1 touchdown and 4 field goals. 19 points. 20-19, Washington escapes with the victory, and life is looking very hellish for Giants Nation, and especially for Daniel Jones putting up 1 touchdown in 2 weeks to start the season.
Listen, if that happens this upcoming Sunday, send out the watch team. Someone gonna have to start looking for me because, I don't even know how I'm going to have to do this. I don't know how I can come up and do this after a game like that. 2019 is a really ugly score, but the first thing that I think about or even thinking about in the past couple of years, I can't remember which game it is. I'm pretty sure you remember that first drive you guys had where the guy fumbles and it gets kicked and tumbled and it ends up.
Oh my God. And I remember Logan Thomas had like 7 chances to recover the fumble. It was in Washington. I remember that game. That was a game where y'all jumped out with a big lead. We came back and we failed at the end of the game. I'm telling you, something's ugly about when we get on the football field together.
It happens every year, and that's what I think about when I hear 2019. So, we'll see about that. So, Rio 2019, Juke Giants 21-17. Sounds ugly. We're going to see what happens, man. Let's catch up in the chat, see what they're saying. Paul saying Chase Young reference by Rio was spot on. All the scouting in the NFL can still never predict the transition from college to the NFL. Kayvon is just as underwhelming as Chase, in my opinion. This year tells it all. This year tells it all 100%. And guess what? Kayvon doesn't have an ACL tear in the second year of his career like Chase Young did. So
he talks a big game too. He has superstar aura. It has to match on the field though.
So Matt Custom says Banks played pretty solid against Jettas, and he's the best receiver in the league. I think he did decently well, but let's not act like there wasn't another guy shaded over Justin Jefferson. I don't care what corner it is. Justin Jefferson, in my opinion, is the best receiver in the league. You got to be able to double that guy, and I think that's what we were doing.
No, yeah.
2 Giant Goofballs, appreciate you. He said DJ hasn't been really good against DC. Just had 1 good game, over 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's by far his most yards.
He wins, though.
He be winning. Gets it done. And unfortunately, him getting it done is why he's still here. Giants got Commanders number, not DJ. I'll get it how you get it, man. And like I said, hopefully DJ doesn't get in the way of that. What do you think is more likely, DJ throwing a touchdown or a pick 6? Now, I'm going to be real with you. That pick 6, I don't think personally is against him, especially what he did against the Vikings. I'm not too sure if you saw it, but Brian Daboll, once again, I want this guy to be the offensive guru and be the right guy for us because this offense has been stuttering for a while.
All he needs is a quarterback, man. Oh, Brian, that's why y'all can't fire him this year. Y'all need to let him go pick out his own quarterback and see what he can do because he played a huge part in Josh Allen's development over there in Buffalo. His quarterback stinks. Y'all don't got one on the roster, man. Y'all better start your jersey swaps for quarterbacks because after this week, they're gonna be flooding the timeline.
It just might. But that play specifically, we had bunches at the bottom of the screen. We had Robinson lined out, and he motioned behind the screen, motioned behind the bunches, and it just so happened to be a screen pass. I think if you're looking at it, anybody could have called that as a screen. At least make it a fake screen, and you got a guy leaking out. Unfortunately, Daboll had a guy in proper position for a screen, and shout out to Van Ginkel. He made that pick 6. I don't blame that on DJ, but If we're asking what's more likely, it's probably the pick six. It definitely is. But looking at the matchup, the DBs aren't there to have a pick six. I mean, you tell me. I don't even know what DB would be catching that pick six. So we'll see what happens when it comes down to that.
Mikey Sanders still, that's going to be the guy. You're going to go to Wandale. Daniel Jones going to throw it behind him on a crossing route, and Mikey Sanders still going to take it to the crib.
I'm going to be sick. Jabari, 21-6, Washington. Man, we are down bad, but I appreciate it. 28-21 G-Men. That's what I'm talking about. 21-17 G-Men is very likely, and I think it could happen. I don't expect 37 points like the Bucks put up. We don't have that quarterback behind us. Giants scoring 3 touchdowns in a single game. I mean, that's almost like a challenge. I mean, will we ever see that? Omega, Giants 50-3 over the Commanders. I'll take 5-3. Drop a 0 on that. I'll take 5-3. Make it a safety and a field goal to get it done.
50-3. I'm tucking in the YouTube channel for the season. Oh my God, I don't think I can stomach that.
24-6 Rio's team. Paul, listen, it might happen, but hopefully it's not happening this week. Welcome to us last year when we had to get Mason Crosby in the end. Last year was bad for us with the kicker. So, I mean, I can only imagine for you guys as well.
The worst.
DJ will have over 500 passing yards in the air over the Commanders. Listen, if this happens, we might have to sit him the next week because his arm might be cooked. I haven't seen this out of him, and 500 yards is probably 3-4 games worth for Daniel Jones. So, 35-14, Giants easy. Appreciate you, Nolan, for tapping in. Rio, your quarterback stinks. Me as a Giants fan cries and says, this man
is right. Sure is.
Sometimes you got to come back to reality. So I don't blame you. 47-0 Commanders. DJ is trash.
We're having a party in the streets of the DMV. Oh my goodness.
Let's hope this doesn't happen. Man, once again, man, before we sign off, Rio, I appreciate you for tapping in. Appreciate you for joining up in this last second. I did reach out to Rio kind of last second. I was looking for Commander content creators, and I came across your YouTube somehow, some way, and I'm glad I did. You post good content over there, even seeing what you got going on with the NFC East roundtable that you got going on over there. Go ahead and drop it in the chat, but also too, where can we find you? Where can they find you, and what can they expect on your channel?
Channel's going to say Rio Robinson on social media, Rio_Robinson91. I have fun on my channel. We use colorful language. We have a good time. I talk about all things Washington from a raw, unfiltered, objective fan's point of view, a fan that came just outside of the glory days. I'll be 33 next month. I've seen none of the 3 Super Bowls. I was in diapers the last time we won one. I've never seen an 11-win season. I've never seen a quarterback throw for 30 touchdowns, and I've never seen a quarterback get to his second contract here. So that's the vibes you're going to get on this channel. You're going to get realness. You're going to get fun. We have fun in the chat, and everybody from all fan bases are welcome. Thank you for having me on the show, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you. And once again, man, this guy had Justin Pugh on his live stream this past week, man. So even if you're looking at it, yes, he's a Commanders fan. Yes, he's a content creator for the Commanders. But definitely you look at it, what he brings on a day-to-day basis over there, man. You love to see that happen, man. Omega saying, Juke, you're always optimistic about the G-Men, so I'm learning to try to be optimistic. So if DJ dominates, I need a shout-out next stream. Hey, Omega, pop in on the stream and you get a shout-out no matter what, man. But once again, shout out to my guy, Rio. Appreciate everyone pulling up to the stream. Make sure you like it up. And once again, go check out Rio Robinson. I have his link posted. He's in the description of a couple of my videos as well. Make sure you check that out. Once again, man, signing off. Hopefully G-Man get it done. And hopefully we're not talking about the Commanders for too long, man.
I need one of these on Sunday. I need one of those, man.
Hopefully this isn't the last time we see Rio on here and vice versa, man. We'll see what happens. But appreciate y'all for tapping in. And I will catch you on the next one. Peace.
Definitely do it again, man.